सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। Who's going to summarize today's topic? Last week's?
Yes. Seema?
Good morning. Hari Om Shashi ji. Summarizing chapter 14, as you had explained to us, that's the Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga. And it is one of the most practical chapters of the Gita. Do we know our minds and how it works, its functions? It tells us that our Prakriti is constituted of gunas. What are gunas? What are the characteristics, expressions, how they create bondage, and how do we recognize that? And once we recognize that, how does one get liberated from the hold of the gunas? When we realize that, and when we know how to liberate ourselves, we no longer remain victims. We are then our masters. When we understand our mind, actually we can start to understand others as well. Then we stop thinking that no one understands me, because it's really important to understand ourselves. Once we understand how the mind works, the gunas, we can then go beyond this and transcend the mind. Bhagwan gives us clarification in this chapter about his highest nature, which is also our essential nature. The goal is to make us realize who we really are, our true and essential nature. We are eternal, untouched by worldly happenings, and then we can bring out our best and enjoy this Maya, that we are in. Our duties, responsibilities, he's talked to us about yoga, meditation, clear instructions on how to meditate in previous chapters. Bhagwan has also asked us to come to him in any way. He's told us what values to cultivate. We've talked about Sthita Pragya Ki Lakshan. He's told us how to purify and simplify our lives. In Shlok 1 and 2, Bhagwan starts the chapter by saying, again, I speak to you, knowing which the great contemplative monks achieved supreme perfection. What is Param Siddhi? Understanding our own mind and its workings. Then alone we can go beyond this mind and transcend the mind. That to know and go beyond is the Param Siddhi. He's talked again about consistently about Sat Chit Anand. To perfect and Purna, Jiva also becomes Purna, remains undisturbed and is not born again. We understand the meaning of change, the play of time, and even death should not touch and affect us. We should build our lives as per our vision, our understanding. That is the Siddhi. Bhagwan talks about the mind and its Prakriti, and that there is a life aspect as I manifest through that matter aspect. In Shlok 5, Bhagwan tells us that Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas are gunas of Prakriti. They themselves are Prakriti. When sattva, rajo guna, and tamo guna are resting in their respective states, that is called the state of equilibrium. In samya avastha prakriti, there is no creation. When there is imbalance and mixing of gunas, then there starts the manifestation of gunas. These gunas expressions are as follows. We have the body, pranas, sense organs, and mind intellect. These gunas play on our minds and as moods and different emotions. We need to understand how they bind us. Sattva is by itself pure, but mixed with rajas and tamas, it causes bondage. And here Bhagwan continues to tell us, give us examples of how each one of these, causes bondage. For instance, Sattva Guna's bondage is very subtle. It binds the jiva by attachment to happiness and knowledge. For example, arrogance due to knowledge. We must remember that we are not the moods of the mind. I should not identify with temporary or dependent happiness. True knowledge is that I am happiness personified, Sat Chit Anand. Rajas is of the nature of attachment, desire oriented, and then the fear of losing it. Tamogun binds us by carelessness, inadvertence, indulgence, laziness, forgetfulness, and procrastination. A sattvic person will be alert, a tamasic person will be inadvertent. Nidra is opposed to both sattva and rajas. The nidra, alasya, and pramada in our day to day life is one thing, but we should take care that tamas does not hinder our spiritual path. No person is free of these gunas and their effects. How do we evaluate our own mind? When we are alert, vigilant, clear minded, with clarity of knowledge, we are in Satogun. Rajogun is identified by restlessness, and Tamas by inadvertence, no inclination to do anything. We must evaluate our gunas on a daily basis to understand ourselves. We are constantly attached to matter and energy, always outwardly focused. Bhagwan wants us to go inside to our consciousness and, basically find our own peace balance. And in shloks 19 and 20, he reinforces that joy is our independent joy, that anand that we are always, being reminded about. Shashi, I think that's everything that I have.
Very good. Excellent. Excellent. We'll now go to the next chapter, which is the chapter 15, which is called Purushottama Yoga. I want to tell you that when we were in Sandipani as students, every lunch as well as dinner time, before we could even start eating, this 15th chapter was recited along with, another prayer, Annapurne, Sadapurne, and Brahmarpanam. The Brahmarpanam, which we saw in the 4th chapter. So these three were part of this. So this 15th chapter, the short chapter, was recited regularly. And today you listen and you also figure out why it would have been recited regularly before meals. So this 15th chapter is actually called Shastra. Why is it called Shastra? Because actually Bhagwan himself will call it Shastra at the end of this 15th chapter. What is a Shastra? Shastra is something which talks about what is good for us. That which teaches what is good for us is called Shastra. In Sanskrit, it is defined as Shasti Hitam Upadishati iti Shastram. It is said what is good for us, that which teaches, that is called a Shastra. But Shastra also means a systematic study of knowledge. That means it's a total science, systematic study that will, it gives a knowledge of a particular thing in totality. Not, you study this text and then you move on to another text and you move on to another text. This particular text will give a systematic analysis of this entire knowledge that we want. So that's why it's called a Shastra. As opposed to in our Vedanta, we have what are called as Prakarana Granthas. Prakarana Granthas deal with certain concepts only. Okay, but this Shastra is something which will deal with the subject matter in totality and in a very systematic manner. That's why it's a science. It's, properly written, completely explained, and so it's a Shastra. Bhagavad Gita, is a Shastra because it speaks of what is good for us, and also it deals with that in totality, and it is called Adhyatma Shastra, like you would call, for example, in physics, in our Sanskrit, what are called Bhautika Shastra or Ganita Shastra for mathematics. So this would be, this would be Adhyatma Shastra. So anyway, chemistry I think is called Rasayana. I'm trying to remember. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, right. So this 15th chapter, Bhagavan Krishna at the end will say, Iti guhyatamam shastram idamuktam mayanaga. He'll say in the last verse, you'll see that. So he himself has called it Shastra. And in 20 beautiful shlokas, the whole essence of Bhagavad Gita is captured in this. So that's why it's got a lot of importance, and it is definitely a Shastra. Now, let's dwell into it. What are the things which will make it a Shastra? Look, here we are, this Jiva, individual. Then we have, when we look around, there's the world around us. So there is Jagat, Jiva, Jagat, and then there has to be somebody who has been the original cause for this. Nothing can come out of nothing. We know that, right? So there has to be a cause. At this point, scientists may call it Big Bang and a little beyond, but there must be, we say there is something beyond even that. There has to be cause even for that. So that entity, we call it as God, or we call it as Ishvaraha. So we have to know about this Jiva, we have to know about this Jagat, we have to know about this Ishvaraha. Then, as we know, you and me, we think of this is what we are. As we see the world, we think that is it. That what we perceive, we think that is it. And God, whatever we've heard so far, information or Googled, whatever, what we think of God. But there has to be something beyond it, which is the sense of that as well. So we have to understand the true nature of this Jiva, Jagat, as well as Ishvara. That's called absolute nature. Okay? Relative is what we all know right now. So absolute nature as well as true nature. Then we've heard so many times that God is all pervading, so should be within me. So how do I know that God within me, that Paramatma and I, we are told how many times you're one. We have to know that. And we have to know, why then are we caught in this samsara? That, you go through so many ups and downs. And then we have told that you have to come back again and again. Why these tossings of ups and downs, this roller coaster rides? How do we go beyond that? What qualifications do I need? What are the tools I can use to understand that Paramatma, my true nature, so that I'm in that place of peace, strength, happiness as I deal with things in this world, So we want to know that as well. And then I will definitely will ask the question, how do I recognize this God everywhere? Where is this God? Bhagavan is going to point out in this particular chapter, starting from the sun to the moon, to the earth, to the fire, to the food, to the digestive power in us to coming right to us alone. And he says, in your heart. So he'll show this entire beautiful cycle too. So we'll see that Lord is everything, yet untouched by everything. Meaning Lord, as we see everything, he's in everything, but still is not just that. Is untouched by everything. So it's beautiful chapter. We incomprehensibly brings all this to our attention. Okay, so what we're going to do is these three entities we're going to see: Jiva, Jagat, and Ishvara. First of all, we have to know about this Jiva. Without me, what's the point of knowing about the world or, God? Doesn't mean no meaning, doesn't make any sense. So what is the purpose of my life here? Is it just to eat and drink and achieve a few things and be done and once again being born and once again being born? Or is there a purpose for my existence here? What is my goal? Why am I going through this roller coaster ride? And what can I do to reach that goal, right? And then when I look at this world, what it's as I see it, what is its nature, but what really is the essence of this world as well? Is there something more? Because, things like, right away, I'll tell you something. We know things are not as what we perceive. For example, we very easily say, oh, the sun rose, the sun set, but we all know that the sun doesn't rise, neither does the sun set, right? So, not what we see, what we sometimes, think we've inferred is not really the truth. So, even this world as we see, there must be some essence, something beyond it, which we want to understand, that Jagat as well. Then our question is, who's the boss? Who's the one who set this whole thing in motion? Who created this, world and brought it all? Who brought me, individual, here? Who brought this world for me and put me here? What is that? That entity which is the cause of everything. We want to know that Ishvaraha and God, as I right now know it. That is, that's the name. Even if you think of it as all this I see around me, the expression, but also what's this God's nature. I want to understand that. Then, is there any connection between me and this world which looks so different from me? What is my relationship? And then this God entity too. How is that God and I connected? How are we connected? What about this world and this God? How are they also related? I would like to know that. So, in essence, what I want to know is what I see right now as expressions everywhere, the immanent nature of everything, as well as Bhagwan's transcendental nature. What is that which is Sat Chit Ananda? That also I want to know. I want to know all this. Now, the question comes, okay, Shashi, why do you want to know all these things? Huh? Because knowing this, getting this understanding, we'll be understanding ourselves completely. We'll get that knowledge which will bring me fulfillment right now in this life. Total fulfillment. Meaning, again and again remind yourself, our happiness then will not be dependent on anything. We become aware of that independent, joyous nature of ours, not dependent on people, not dependent on situations, not dependent on any objects, anything outside. Independently, that joyous nature of mine, I will know, knowing which I'll be fulfilled, knowing which I'll be fulfilled, right? Total fulfillment comes in my life. And Bhagavan says, yes, you will know this. By knowing this properly, do your shramanam, listening, you do your reflection, that mananam, and then you also do nididhyasana, you contemplate on this, you meditate on this, and understand your true nature. After that, knowing your true nature of happiness, they always say there's nothing more to be done, meaning, again, please understand, nothing more to be done for happiness. Because every action of ours is for happiness, be it from small eating to adjusting my place seat on this chair to the ultimate things that we want to achieve and contribute, okay, to this life, is all for happiness. That's all achieved already. Knowing my true nature, then please again remember, anything that we do afterwards comes out of happiness and fulfillment. We're not doing anything for happiness, for fulfillment. Everything now is coming, my actions are coming out of happiness, out of fulfillment. So the Shastra has dealt with everything, the problems and the solutions in totality. No wonder it is called a Shastra. Okay? Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
श्रीभगवानुवाच
Urdhvamoolamadha shakham
ऊर्ध्वमूलमधः शाखम्
Ashwatham Prahuravyayam
अस्वस्थं प्राहुरव्ययम्
Chandamsi Yasya Parnani
छन्दांसि यस्य पर्णानि
Yastam Veda Sa Vedavit.
यस्तं वेद स वेदवित्.
Now, Bhagwan says, this is actually, this shloka starts with saying, look, this whole samsara that we're talking, this, this entire thing that we're talking about now, he compares it using a metaphor of an upside down tree. this samsara, this world, everything is described using the metaphor of a upside down tree. Obviously, there is no upside down tree anywhere. Even if you go to the bottom of the earth and try to look up, there's no upside down tree. It's a metaphor. It's a metaphor. He calls this tree the Ashwatha tree, and we'll see why it's called Ashwatha tree. He says Urdhva Moolam. The reason this metaphor is used is we are all very familiar with one thing. When we do this ancestry, or when you talk about the corporate ladder, usually the corporate CEO is at the top, and then all the various designations come along at the bottom. So similar to that. Okay, keep that in mind. Or you say these are the people who started this lineage, and then down, 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 you come to the present generation, right? Like that. So it's something like that. You just keep that in mind. There is no upside down tree. It's just a metaphor, and leave it at that. Don't get too caught in it. But remember, what Bhagwan is trying to point out is the taproot. The taproot of that is the source, which is the life-giving principle, that Paramatma. That should become very clear to us. The taproot is Paramatma. Coming from that is the trunk and the branches, which we know now is the Maya Shakti, the Prakriti, with all its gunas, bringing out all the 5 elements, matter, energy, everything is included in the trunk and the branches, the many, many branches. And he also adds that the leaves of these are the Vedas. We'll see why he says that. So keep this in mind. So then it is Urdhva is that Paramatma, branches and the trunk and everything includes the Kshetra. And this word Ashwatha he uses, that means Ashwatha means is not Shashwata, is not there all the time, ever changing. But he also adds the word Avyaya, meaning it looks as though it lives for a long time, as though it has a perennial existence. I'm sure you've seen banyan trees in India, which are there for 400, 500 years, looks like it lives forever. But yet it is actually changing. Though ever changing, the samsara looks like it goes on forever, looks like it's imperishable, but it's ever changing, he says. So keep this in mind as we go and study something more about this Ashwatha tree. Adaschordvam prasitastasya shakhaha.
Adashchodvam prasritastasya
Shakaha
shakaha
guna pravruddha
guna pravritta
vishaya pravalaha
vishaya pravalaha
adhascha moolan
adascha moolan
yanusantatani
anusantatani
karmanubandhini
karmanubandhini
manushyaloke.
manushya
So what he says is, just think about this. These are huge banyan trees. The central one I heard is in Kolkata, okay? And then what happens is, that the tree, where it puts those aerial roots down, and within no time they get firm hold into the ground. And after some time, you don't know where the tree began, where is its source. It becomes so confounding, and it becomes so complex. You see that people are wandering around under it. It's like huge. So he says, what happens? Bhagwan is saying, look, this is the tree of life. This is the tree of samsara. What happens is the jivas, which are like little, sprouts on this plant, or you can take it as the whole thing with Prakriti. Me is an individual. I get so busy with life. I get with my desires I want to fulfill. I get into, various activities and then look for happiness, create more desires. And within no time, I've created a whole huge web. And I don't know where my beginning is. My akarmas actually make us, we do so many actions, we gain so many impressions, and then all kinds of, good and even bad things, and we experience joy and sorrow, and it becomes a very complicated web. So we don't know. We now forget completely what our source is, and also we are in this constant ups and downs in this huge web. So this is what has happened now. So Bhagwan says, Now we'll repeat these two shlokas. And so, is there any end to this, or am I stuck in this? Would I in any way get out of this ups and downs and this roller coaster? So, Bhagavan is going to give some tips here. Okay. Na rupam
न रूपम्
asyeha
अस्येह
tatopalabhyate
तत् तथोपलभ्यते
nanto na chadir
नान्तो न चादिर्
na cha sampratishtha
न च सम्प्रतिष्ठा
ashvatthaменam
अश्वत्थमेनं
suvirudhamulam
सुविरूढमूलम्
asangashastrena
मसङ्गशस्त्रेण
asangashastrena
असङ्गशस्त्रेण
दृढेन चित्वा
दृढेन चित्वा
ततः पदं तत्
ततः पदं तत्
परिमार्गितव्यम्
परिमार्गतत्त्वम्
यस्मिन् गता
यस्मिन् गता
न निवर्तन्ति भूयः
न निवर्तिन्ति भूया
तमेव चाद्यं
तमेव चाद्यं
पुरुषं प्रपद्ये
पुरुषं प्रपद्ये
यतः प्रवृत्ति
यतः प्रवृत्ति
प्रसुता पुराणी.
प्रसुता पुराणी.
This samsara vriksha seems so complicated. I don't know how to get out of it. Where do I look for this essential nature of mine of happiness? Bhagwan, it looks like it's impossible, this tree to cut down. Hey, but the fact that you mentioned it's a tree, you know that you can cut it down, right? I mean, the fact that you say this tree is being and this whole samsara chakra, this whole world you created, you cannot go beyond it. Don't think so, because just as the fact that you compared it to a tree means you can cut it, doesn't mean that we're actually going to chop away all our relationships and then be left in some isolate. That's not what he's trying to say. We will understand we are not in this web anymore. We are not in this web anymore. So what has happened? We don't know our true nature. That's the first thing. Okay. And then we are also caught in the ups and downs of the web that we have created. So Bhagavan is going to show us how we can go beyond this ups and downs, and by knowing our true nature. So Bhagavan says you can do it. You can do your true, understand your true nature of that Supreme Lord who's the source. Remember, without the life giving principle in us, nothing matters. We cannot even function. So I want to understand that life-giving principle. So this is where Bhagavan is also going to go, and then ultimately he'll show not only here, it's everywhere, and in that essence of that God too. This is what he's showing us. Okay. So what he says, what do you need to do? He says, take the sword. Take the sword of what? Asanga Shastrena. What is this Asanga Shastra? He says detachment. Vairag. We'll see what Vairag here also means. We'll understand all these things. What do you mean? Do I have to give up everything? So he says, use the sword of detachment and cut down this tree. And at the same time, he also says, Tata padam tat parimargitavyam. Also, you think, you inquire, you gain knowledge. So basically saying you need to get Viveka and Vairagya here. So Viveka and Vairagya will, as we study the next sloka too and understand a little bit more, I'll explain so that it all connects with us what we need. Now he's giving us tools. Remember I said we have understood, certain aspects that we are caught in the samsara. We understood that it is the Urdhva Paramatma alone, right, who's the source of everything. Now he's telling us, you please develop Viveka and Vairagya. With that, you will be able to go beyond it, he says. You can understand what your true nature is. What it means is, all of us, you just think now, when we were children, we loved to play with balloons. And if the balloon burst when we were kids, we would cry. But we now are adults. We don't look at that, and I mean, we don't even are. We're not interested in playing with balloons. We might enjoy seeing them, but we are not, hankering after that. So what Bhagwan is saying, look through your life's experiences right now. Look through the experiences of others. And as you listen to these satsang, become more and more aware that what you thought will give you happiness, which will last forever, cannot be through all the usual things. You understand that. Bhagwan is asking us to have this viveka for us. You understand. Did you get what you wanted? If even if you got what you wanted, were you contented, fulfilled? Aren't you not going up to get up to doing more things to get happiness? Even the subtlest, most beautiful things too, we don't feel complete. We still want to do something more. So Bhagwan says, you understand that all this source of happiness in your usual pursuits, looking at others' experiences, as well as through scriptures, you understand. That viveka, let it start coming in you. Then what happens? Slowly we say, I want to know something more. I want to know what that essence is. So you get not so attached to these. You'll do these things, but you're not hankering after them and depending on them anymore. You're slowly moving to understand your truth. So this is the detachment he's expecting from us. So with Vairagya and Viveka, you use this and you will slowly go beyond this. You will gain the knowledge and understand your true nature. What else do I need, Bhagwan? What are the qualifications I need? So Bhagwan says, Nirvana Moha,
Nirmana Moha,
Jita Sanga Doshaha,
Jita Sanga Doshaha,
Adhyatma Nitya,
Adhyatma Nitya,
Vinivrutta Kamaha,
Vinivrutta Kamaha,
Dvandvair Vimukta,
Dvandvar Vimukta,
Sukha Dukkha Sanyaihi,
Sukha Dukkha Sanyehi,
Gacchantya
Gacchanta Mudha,
Padamavyayam tat.
Padam Avyayam Tata.
He says these are some things that one has to develop in life. If you want to make your viveka sharp and your vairagya with understanding, if you want that to happen, some of these qualities you have to develop. And see what he calls this person. He calls that person amudaha. That person is not, ignorant anymore, is not in confusion anymore. Who's this person? 3 adjectives he uses. He says nirmana moha, jita sanga doshaha, Vinivrutta kamaha, he says, for this amudha person, this person who's not ignorant. What has this person done? We'll start from the, Vinivrutta kamaha first. Again, reflection, again, think. Happiness we think is outside. So all our desires for things outside makes us very extroverted, right? We're always looking outside. Those desires don't end. When we get something, think about it, whether it's an object, whether it's relationships, or whether it's situations. We want it to last, we want to hold on to it, and there is a fear of loss. So we get fear of loss, we become possessive. This is what happens when our desires get fulfilled. You just think these are all things for us to reflect. And then what happens with that fear, as well as that possessive nature, also wanting more of it, mind becomes disturbed. A disturbed mind cannot think with clarity, meaning there are too many thoughts. I'm not saying disturbed in the sense upset, angry, but too many thoughts. That means there's no clarity. So Bhagwan says, when you start understanding that all these desires are getting me only so far, and when you become adhyatma nitya, when you start focusing on this knowledge of yours, this true nature of yours, then what happens? The desires, when they are quietened down, not with any constant hankering, then what will happen? You become even more detached. You're not so focused and hung up on those things, and therefore your mind has now become more and more quiet, shanta. It becomes more cooperative, And the quiet mind is the most cooperative mind to study. That means clarity comes when we absorb the knowledge, right? So what happens? That quietude of mind, that clarity in knowledge will happen for a person who has, developed these qualifications of vinivritta kamaha, jita sanga doshaha, and then nirmana moha. So that clarity will come. With that, our that viveka becomes even sharper, and our importance to things will become just as much as needed, not any uh, tight holding on. So that is the detachment. So one gets enlightenment, and then you understand that Urdhva Paramatma. So how beautifully Bhagavan has given samsara chakra, and then a qualifications that I need to gain, and I will be able to go beyond the ups and downs of life. What is the Paramatma that I'll understand when you point out? He says, Natad bhasayate suryaha.
Is that me? Oh, sorry. Natad bhasayate suryo.
Na shashanko na pavakaha.
Na shashanko na pavakaha.
Yadgatva na nivartante.
Yadgatva na nivartante.
Tadhama paramam mama.
Tadhama paramam mama.
So Bhagwan is saying this Urdhva Bhagwan, this Paramatma, which you're going to understand when you develop all those qualities. He says it itself is the self-shining pure consciousness. Okay, so you can't take a source of light from here and say, with the sun I'll be able to see. I'll explain what it means. With the sun I'll be able to see it. With the moonlight I'll be able to see it. With the fire I'll be able to see it. With our eyes, no, you can't do that, because of it alone everything else has come. So you can turn the telescope to see the observer. It's like that. Keep that in mind. You can't turn the telescope to see. I'm standing and watching the universe, and you say, let me turn the telescope and see who the observed, right? You can't see the subject through the objects. Okay, anyway, but we'll explain some more. So what he says, you can't see it with the eyes, you can't illuminate the eyes, means the sun represents all our sense organs. Sun stands for this deity. It's called the deity of the eyes, because you need light to see, and therefore it is you need a sun represents the light, ultimate light. So sun is the presiding deity of the eyes. That means included in this are all sense organs. It stands for all sense organs, the eyes. Sense organs cannot see it, perceive it. Then when you say moon is the presiding deity of our mind. So your mind, your intellect, you can't understand through that. You can't understand consciousness, your true nature through that. And then Pavaka means the fire. Fire represents energy, action, all organs of action. No, you can't go and catch it and say, I can touch this. No, you can't do that. So sense organs, mind, as well as organs of action cannot, by that you cannot, our usual instruments of which we use to gain knowledge of this entire world, you cannot do that, because it is the nature of the Chaitanya which is giving life to all this. You can't with those instruments, is what it means. So that is the true Urdhva Bhagavan. Cannot be grasped by our usual means of knowledge, meaning it's something we have to, in meditation, understand and be one with it. That's our true nature awareness, Sakshi. He'll explain, but this is what we have to understand, not by a usual means of knowledge that you can understand. It is it is that which gives everything life. That is our true nature. And then what? So Bhagwan, so far you've explained what this world is, right? All this samsara, ups and downs, and then everybody caught in this. But you've also said that you alone are giving even life to this world as well, existence to this world as well. And you've now told us what that absolute truth is, that Urdhva Paramatma, who is beyond everything, who's the essential light for everything as well. You said that. And you've given us tools how I can go beyond the ups and downs of samsara and the qualifications I need. You've told me that as well. So now who am I in all this? Who am I? So he says in 2 shlokas, let's see. Mamaivaamsho jivaloke
Mamevansho jivaloke
जीवभूतः सनातनः
Jivabhuta sanatana
मनःषष्ठान्
Manashashtan
इन्द्रियाणि
Indriyani
प्रकृतिस्थानि कर्षति
Prakritisthani karshati
शरीरं यदवाप्नोति
Shariram yadavapnoti
यच्चाप्युत्
Yachapyut
यच्चापि
Yachapi
उत्क्रमतीश्वरः उत्क्रमातीश्वरः
Utkramatishvaraha
गृहीत्वैतानि संयाति
Grahitvetani sanyati
वायुर्गन्धान्
Vayurgandhan
निवाशयात्.
Nivashayat.
He says, this jiva is my amsha, Bhagavan says, meaning my part of me, as though this individual is a part of me. My part, as though, because remember, he's going to show ultimately you and I are the same as that Paramatma. As though my part. When Bhagavan, when you see this entire creation, the power, the energy, the intelligence in this entire creation, Bhagavan is working with the totality. But when he works through us, this jiva, that we are, in this individual, we are called as, that Bhagavan is called as a jiva here. So it is like this beautiful thing, examples which are used a lot in our scriptures. You see one sun. We know that there's only one sun. But if you keep over 20 pots of water and you look in it, you see little suns everywhere, right? We see that. And then even that little sun might give some heat into that, by that reflection itself would give some heat even there as well. So it's as though there are many suns, but we know that there is only one sun. There is only one Paramatma, as though has become all these jivas. Now appears as all these jivas right now. He says, jiva is my amsha only, Bhagavan is saying. But without the sun, can there be any reflection? No. Without that, Satchidananda Paramatma, none of us would be there. So in fact, my true nature is that of Urdhva Paramatma alone. I am that alone, right? So my essential nature is also that Bhagwan's essential nature. The essential nature of this world, underlying everything, is also that. Without that Paramatma's Prakriti manifesting as everything, where is world? Always remember this in your mind. Satchidananda Paramatma. Existence, consciousness, infinitude. Its power is that Prakriti. That Prakriti you can think of in your mind, if you want to be scientific, as matter and energy. That is what is said in, as Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Matter and energy. That matter and energy has manifested as everything, and that we can understand, right? Matter and energy is but without that first consciousness, where is even matter and energy would not be there. So the support for everything ultimately is that consciousness alone. Like me, I can sit here without manifesting anything, but there's so many powers in me which I can manifest, right? So I can be without doing anything. I can manifest my powers as well. Like that, Bhagwan has manifested all these creation. So the world is because of that Lord alone and its powers. Me, this jiva, also is that Lord alone. This is what he's saying. So what Bhagwan, he says, this jiva, because prompted by desires, has formed so many impressions and wanting to fulfill more desires, it's born from one body after another. So as long as we're ignorant of my true nature, this will go on. But when I come to, with viveka, with the right understanding, with the right detachment, with the right holding on to the knowledge, with my clear mind, and if I can understand my true nature, then this cycle stops. Right here, I understand my true nature of happiness. I can work from that place of strength and peace. This is the Jnana Chakshu that I should get. Jnana Chakshu is understanding my true nature. Nothing will happen to my eyes, but within me, the understanding becomes clear who I am. So, listening to Vedanta, again doing reflection on it, doing Nididhyasana, we will come to know our true nature, is what Bhagavan is saying. Next sloka. Yatanto yoginaschainam
Yatanto yoginaschainam
pasyantyatmanyavasthitam Yatman
पश्यन्त्यात्मन्यवस्थितम्
yatanto pyakrutot
यतन्तो व्यकृतात्मानो
It is yatanto api akruta atmanaha. So we have to combine that in Sanskrit. Okay, so sorry. Nainam pashyanti
नैनं पश्यन्ति
achetasaha.
अचेतसः.
This is simple. Bhagwan is sort of summarizing and saying, if we aspire, if we want to know that place of strength and peace in us through purity, through clarity, has been saying, then you can try, these yatanti, those who strive can get it, right? Who prepared their mind, they can get it. Not by people who have not made inquiry. We really have to put forth effort. We have to develop our discrimination. We have to learn to prioritize, simplify, so that we can give time for this study and bring focus to this, most important purpose of purpose of our life. Because with that, everything else becomes so much more beautiful even as we live. That's why Bhagavan is saying you have to become this person who puts forth effort and develop that qualities as well. Now let's see. Now Bhagavan is going to bring, I hope I can finish. Yeah, I can. Bhagavan is going to bring a beautiful connection now from that Paramatma to everything, to our hearts now. So let's see. Yada dityagatam tejaha
यदादित्यगतं तेजः
jagad bhasayate khilam
जगद्भासयतेऽखिलम्
yaschandramasi yachagno
यश्चन्द्रमसि
यमसि
चाग्नौ
यच्चाग्नौ
tattejo vidhi mamakam.
तत्तेजो
तत्तेजो विद्धि
विद्धिमामकम्
मामकम्.
So now we say, okay, I understood this. Bhagwan is in my heart. You've told me all this thing, but where else can I see God? He says, Arey, look at the sun, look at the moon, look at the fire. I am there in every one of them, meaning without me, nothing would have come into existence. Without Big Bang, matter, energy, and all the consequent things, the sun, moon, and everything would not have come into existence. And even the Big Bang, matter, and energy is because of the presence of that pure consciousness existence, that power manifesting. Keep thinking of this in this way. So Bhagavan says, I am the sun, the light, the energy, the heat, everything is because of me. It's manifesting because of me. And then in the moon, that pleasantness, everything that you see is again evidence of my presence. In the fire, the heat is possible because of the energy. I'm existing there as energy. All this is nothing but my glorious manifestations. Now what does he do? He comes even closer to us now. Then he says, Gama Vishya cha bhutani
गामाविश्य च भूतानि
dharayam
धारयम्
aham ojasa
अहम् ओजसा
pushnami chaushadhi sarvaha
पुष्णामि चौषधि सर्वाः
domo bhutva
दोमो भूत्वा
rasatmakaha.
रसात्मकः.
Now you see, The sun is a source of energy, light, heat, energy. We know that. Because of that, the whole world is being sustained. Without the sun, can you imagine? There would be nothing. So that sun's energy and heat is actually here in the earth as well, energizing all the plants to grow. Without that, nothing would happen. So there's a total connection between the sun's energy coming into the earth, the heat in the earth with which the plants grow, and the nourishment already in the form of so many elements that matter that we've talked about already being drawn into the plants, becoming food. See the connection. Don't lose the connection. Without matter and energy, no sun. Without Big Bang, no sun. Without sun, no energy. Without energy and heat, there's nothing in the earth. Nothing in the earth means no food. So you see the cycle. How that Urdhva Paramatma alone is responsible for all this. This power in the earth to sustain, to nourish is also me, Bhagwan. That's why he's saying, I give the nourishing value to all the food in your, that you eat. So now he says, I'm the food coming from the sun as light and energy and heat into the earth as its heat and energy, into all those nutrients as matter already present, into your food. And now Bhagwan says, very famous shlok, verse from the Bhagavad Gita, Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Dehamashritah Pranapansamayu Pachamyannam Chaturvidham. Very famous shloka, be recited before meals. And what is Bhagwan saying? Look, you think the food that is coming to you has come because of me. I'll tell you something more. That digestive power in you, that fire in you, that heat in you, that all the gastric juices, the digestive juices in you are all flowing, and everything's happening because of the presence of me. I myself am that digestive power in that sense. So no matter what type of food you eat, food can be either chewed, food can be either, you can drink it, you can just swallow it, you can suck on food, no matter what type of food it is. I am not only that food, I am that fire digesting that food as well. So look what a yajna your eating becomes. You mean when you take food, you're offering it to that Bhagwan inside your stomach. What a holy act that we are doing. We will not look at food anymore in a trivial way. We won't say, ugh, I don't like this. I mean, as much as possible, those sharp reactions will stop if this awareness comes to us. So, and then we take care what we want to feed this Bhagwan inside us. What a beautiful act it becomes. So you see how this Bhagwan is connected from the sun to the heat and energy, to the earth, to the nutrients of the earth, and the energy from there coming into food and coming straight into us as food, but then, digestive power, and everything gets assimilated in our body as well. Now he comes to our heart. That's Bhagwan is now coming to as close to our heart, and he says, Sarvasya chaham
Sarvasya chaham
Hrudi sannivishtaha
Riddhi sannivishtaha
Matta smritir
Matta smritir
Jnanam apohanancha
Jnanam apohanam cha
Vedaischa sarvaihi
Vedasya cha sarvaihi
Ahameva vedyaha
Aham eva vedyaha
Vedanta krid
Vedanta krid
Veda videva chaham.
Veda videha chaham.
Bhagwan says, I am now right here sitting in your heart, not only digesting your food, giving you life in your heart. What do you mean in your heart? Look, heart in philosophy is not that pumping heart. When we are in meditation, absolutely still in total awareness, that joyous, quiet, alert, tranquil mind, in that silence, you are one with that Lord. That Lord becomes evident as me when you're in meditation. So what, Bhagwan? What's the use if I'm sitting there in meditation for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, half an hour, and I experience it? No, in life, this is what you'll see. Love, acceptance, mercy, charity, kindness at all times flows from this heart. Such a person sees not only God in oneself sitting in meditation, but sees the same Lord everywhere, because those qualities are just coming out through you from that source. So, in the sun, in the fire, in the moon, in the earth, in the food, now in the heart, the circle is complete. That Bhagwan, who was pure consciousness, existence, infinitude, who you can't imagine, that's a transcendental nature because it is cannot be imagined, has now come to something that so close to us now. Me alone, as this human existing and walking everywhere. So Bhagwan is not somebody who's sitting high up in the clouds, exists right here and everywhere, in everything. So we are not away from Bhagwan even for a moment. Not even in the privacy of our own little corner of the house. Bhagwan is everywhere. There's a little thing that we used to do for Bal Vihar children, you see, would give to show this point, we'd give them all a little candy and say, go and eat in a place where nobody is watching you. And the kids have to run to the different part of the mandir and try to hide and eat the candy. Some clever ones would get back and come back with the candy. They say, there's no place, you just taught us that God is everywhere. Couldn't hide from him, or couldn't hide from that God. So right everywhere, watching us, with us. Not a moment goes without the Lord. And so Bhagwan is also saying, you know me through the scriptures. Oh, there's a beautiful portion which I have not yet forgot. Yeah. Okay, know me through the scripture. And then Bhagwan also says, all the experiences that you gain, right? Whether it's you gain knowledge, or whether this faculty of memory that you have, or even the ability to forget, is all possible because I'm already in you. How beautiful. So, that ability to forget, ability to gain knowledge, and also retain it is all because Bhagwan is already there. So what is the type of thing that we should do then? We should gain the knowledge of that God and we should retain that. Meaning we should remember that oneness everywhere. Gain that knowledge and remember that. And what should we forget? Forget things which are irrelevant. All those stupid grudges that we hold on in life, and that strong opinions we have about people. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to use that word stupid, but the grudges that we hold on, that petty things that seem to be so important. Forget that. This is how we should use our faculties, knowing that Bhagwan is giving us that ability already in us, right? So most important in life is gain this knowledge and then live with that wisdom, retain that so that we can use it at all times. So through the Vedas, all this knowledge has been given, meaning through the scriptures like the Gita, gain this knowledge, because I myself have given this in the beginning too. The minute we know this truth, the minute we become aware of this, everything is done. We see that Lord, understanding comes to us that Lord is everywhere. So the Lord is everywhere as I see, but the Lord is much more beyond it. That infinitude that we can't even imagine is expressing as everything. That Lord has not only that Lord who's all pervading, who I can't imagine, is also here expressing as everything. That is this immanent Lord and transcendental Lord. This is what is meant, immanent as we see. So we've seen the nature of the Jiva, we've seen the nature of the world, we've seen the nature of Ishvara. We've seen what causes our ups and downs, our own desires, our own attachments, our own fears, and the consequent, actions that we keep doing. And then we have understood how we can go beyond it. What's the means of liberation, that viveka, that vairagya, that clarity in our thinking, that channelizing our desires to this one goal, we can get it. And we reach, meaning I understand my nature. Nobody reaches Paramatma because Paramatma is already me. I understand my true nature. And then that's it. So then Bhagwan gives a little bit more technical things. I don't think, but you should have heard it once. So I don't want it to be a source of confusion. Bhagwan says this is all Prakriti. Kshara means it's perishing. And then there is the life-giving principle in you, right, in an individual, which is called Purusha. And then he calls as something beyond that, infinite Satchidananda Brahman. But don't get confused that Purusha is like the reflection, that's all. Don't get too confused. We leave it at this. There is Uttama Purusha means that Satchidananda Brahman, and there is this individual expressing, that Purusha expressing in this matter. Okay. Now, Yo mamevamasambhudha
यो मामेव सम्मूढः
janati purushottamam
जानाति पुरुषोत्तमम्
tasarvavid bhajati mam
स सर्वविद् भजति माम्
sarvabhavena bharata.
सर्वभावेन भारत.
So he says, become that jnani. All of us should become this jnani bhakta. We should love this. We should have that bhakta means have love for this knowledge and get this knowledge. You become that. And then, knowing that Bhagwan means we just have to love all because everything is that Bhagwan. And such a person will always serve me, worship me, love me means we love everything. The Bhagwan is expressing as everything. We understand we are not just this limited physical and individual entities. We are so much more. In fact, we are all. So in this way, we connect to the highest in us, in me, and in all, and then live from a place of peace and strength. Loving the Lord, the totality, as loving the divinity in everybody and everything. That underlying core of oneness, we come to appreciate with this clarity and understanding. So Bhagwan now concludes by saying, no, this is the most secretive of knowledge because, and I'll tell you, iti guhyatamam
Iti guhyatamam
shastram
shastram
idamuktam
damuktam
mayanagha
mayanagha
etad buddhva
etad buddhva
buddhiman syat
buddhiman syat
kritakrityascha
tatakrityascha
bharata.
bharata.
Calls Arjuna now by two names. He says Anagha and Bharata. You're sinless, he says, and you are Bharata. We'll see what it means. So now Bhagwan here, he says, Iti guhyatamam shastram. Just remember, I told you what Shastra is. That which is the best knowledge for us, which has our welfare, the absolute good for us. Keeps that in mind. And therefore, what is absolute good? Not to be caught in this ups and downs all the time. To understand my nature of peace and happiness and work from there in life. To know that I am the place of strength so that I can deal with the challenges with equanimity and balance and bring the best out of my life. This life that I have. That is going beyond samsara chakra. And after that, understanding my true nature, there is no this constant rebirth for us according to, what we know. So Bhagwan says, I've given you this Shastra, which is most secretive because you can't see through your, perceive through your senses. You cannot just comprehend through your mind and say, I read it in a book and I got it. No, you can't get it. And also, Bhagwan says, you can grasp it. I told you already, it's not something that you obtain through any organs of instruments that you already have or instruments of knowledge that you have. You need a Shastra, you need a Guru to guide you to understand it clearly. And then we do our Shravana, as we do our Shravana, we do Manana, we do Nididhyasana and sit with this wisdom and become that person of wisdom. Be fulfilled. And Anaga means be that pure person, meaning have a quiet mind. And Bharata for Arjuna means, of course, the son of the Bharata in the Bharata dynasty, but also Bharata means to shine with that knowledge of light. Bha means to shine, that revel in that knowledge. Shining means proper knowledge. That is called light. Light of knowledge, we say. So be in that knowledge. Get this knowledge. Be that fulfilled person. And you do need the help of a guru or seek. That's why, otherwise we don't understand it. A guru who has understood, who lives in this wisdom, will be able to guide you in this process, so that we also come to understand and live with that wisdom. So beautiful chapter of 15th chapter. In totality is addressed everything. There's no, nothing which has been left away. Everything, the problem, the solution, what are the entities that we have to know, their relative level, as well as what is the true essence we've understood. How to gain our qualifications, what are our tools, and then what do we do after that? That's also been pointed out. What's the nature of that Paramatma? Is it just there sitting in the clouds? No. How is that Paramatma connected to me? Look at this connection. There's an unbroken cycle of connection. And when I recognize that Paramatma in my heart, as Bhagwan has pointed out, in that quiet moments of meditation, when I come to sit with that wisdom, I just cannot but help by, exhibiting love, compassion, care, kindness, and also living with that ability to face anything that comes to me in life with equanimity. Just cannot but help, because I'm working from a place of strength, peace, and that independent joy, which is my nature. All right, let me conclude. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.